Hello and welcome to another episode of the Farr Show where I'm Farr, and tonight we're talking about Mission Impossible. I mean, can't you read? If you really can't, I'm sorry. Now I just feel kind of bad. But if you can read, didn't you read? Like, seriously? So, let's start talking about Mission Impossible where we got... This is the 7th movie, honestly. It's nuts to think it. And I know what you're thinking, Damien, are you going to rank these? Not this time. Once the next one comes out and we get a full movie, because this is a part 1 and part 2. I know what you're thinking, Damien, what about Spider-Verse? I didn't rank those either. Anytime there's a part 1 and part 2, like back-to-back type thing, I don't like the idea of ranking them. Though I did really like Spider-Verse. So, let's start talking about this where we got it's directed by Christopher McQuarrie, written by Christopher McQuarrie and Eric Jurgensen, I think it's pronounced, which is based on Mission Impossible by Bruce Geller. So, the cast is where these movies have just continually gotten better. At first, let's just be honest, it was mainly just Tom Cruise. He was the selling point. Then as time went on, they started adding some more cast members. I mean, I kind of lied. There was one guy in here that was originally in the first one, but that's not important. Let's start talking about the cast where it's Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt. Still doing it. Still doing some crazy stuff. Like the video of him jumping off a cliff and then parachuting. Cool. All I could think of, man, they probably crashed a couple bikes doing this. Unless they did it one take. I don't think they did it one take, though. I feel like Tom Cruise wants to do it twice or a couple times. Then you got Haley Atwell as Grace, who's the, like, female lead in this one. Every movie, he's kind of got a different female lead, which is a little weird to me. It's become like a Bond thing, where it's like a James Bond, you know, like, Bond girl thing. Which is okay, I guess. Ving Rhames, I think it's pronounced Ving Rhames, as Luther Strickle. He's been in all of these, so it just makes sense that he's still here. Though, not really spoiler, he goes off the grid at the end of the movie. Or, I wouldn't say, spoiler, sorry. He goes off the grid midway through the movie and then you don't see him again. So, I wonder how he's going to show up in the next one, because he's going to have to show up. You got Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust. And we skipped my favorite character, which is Simon Pegg as Benji Dunn. I mean, Simon Pegg brings the comedy. Don't get me wrong, Tom Cruise can do comedy, but he's mainly the serious man. Well, Simon Pegg is the funny man here. You got Vanessa Kirby as Alana Mistopoulos. Then you got Ilea Morales as Gabriel. I can't pronounce his first name. It's E-S-A-I. No idea. And then you got Pom Culf as Paris. Mantis from Guardians. She's back. Let's start talking about the plot. I don't want to give away too much. I already gave away that, Ving Rhames here, disappears midway through the movie. So, let's start talking about this quickly here, where Ethan has to get 2 parts of a key. And the key are like 2 little crosses that are perfectly matched together. And I kind of like that. I like that kind of idea of a key for some reason. I want to get one for some reason too. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I have so much jewelry at this point that I keep on me. And I somehow forgot it. My little thumb ring here. Don't worry, I got it. Here we go. Fixed. So, I don't really know how to explain it, but pretty much they interlock perfectly and they make like 2 crosses that are like this. So it's kind of like, this just looks dirty. 2 crosses that are interwoven together that then lights on them blink once they're together. Once again, not a scientist, don't know how it works. I assume that's possible though, because a lot of this stuff is realistic to a point in these movies. Unlike James Bond, where there's some realism taken off. But these keys are to unlock this thing called the Entity, which is an AI that has gone rogue and become sentient. It's really weird in the fact that the AI is the main bad guy, but it's not a person? I mean, Gabriel there is technically a bad guy. Vanessa Kirby, Alana, Elena, I'm terrible at pronouncing names, if you haven't noticed, are technically both bad people, and same with Paris, bad people, but they're all being controlled to an extent by the entity. So the entity is the main bad guy? It's really weird. So, spoiler alert though, we're gonna go into some spoiler territory where we're gonna talk a little bit further. Rebecca Ferguson dies in this movie, and I don't know really how I feel about that. I feel like they were kind of setting up a love story between her and Ethan, and then they just kind of got rid of her because they got a new girl named Haley Atwell, which I don't understand why they give him these relationships. At least Bond, you can tell that it's just sex. For Ethan, it looks like he's kind of falling in love with each of these women, and then they just get rid of him, which they kind of fixed in the last one, but now they've unfixed it? I don't know. So, let's talk about this here right away, because I know what you're thinking. What are you going to give it for a rating, Damien? I'm going to give it an FAR, and I know it's not as good as the last one, honestly. This one, as weird as it sounds, had too much action. This movie was all action. And don't get me wrong, I like some action, but there needs to be some plot to go with that action. And other than, 2 parts of a key and somebody dying, it was just action, action, action. I can only imagine how the next one's gonna be. Or is it gonna take the Kill Bill approach, where Kill Bill Volume 1 is mainly action and 2 is a lot of dialogue to fill in the gaps? I don't think they can do that with this one. They're not Quentin Tarantino, so I don't know. Honestly, I would say this movie is definitely good, but it is all action. This is non-stop. Like, the beginning is action scene setting up the story. The next scene is Ethan Hunt going to find one of his friends. Action scene. Like, there's no slowdown. The airport scene. Oh, it should slow down a bit. It's just them bantering. There's literally a 5-minute, maybe 5 minutes banter of the, Luther, Benji, and Ethan all together, working together, and then action. Instantly. There is no rest in this movie. Tom Cruise running memes aside, really, that's really what this movie is Tom Cruise running a lot. So, once again, I think this is, I wouldn't say one of the better ones. I feel like we're not seeing a complete movie. Unlike Spider-Verse, where it kind of had a good ending, this one kind of just ends. Like, Spider-Verse tied up some loose ends, but, kept a lot open. This one just kind of ends. Like, it literally is part 1 and part 2. Spider-Verse, they kind of made it where you could watch Beyond the Spider-Verse. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot missing, but it's still a movie that can fit on its own to an extent. This one cannot. So maybe it'll get a better review once the other part comes out. Who knows? So, what did you think about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1? Tell me in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and have a far night.